Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Sightseeing. My name is Charles, and I am going to be your host for today. I hope you are all doing well, staying safe, and has had a good day. I know we got through our Monday yesterday, so I hope your Tuesday is going well. My name is Charles. Like I said, I am going to be your host, and I'll be here for the next half hour. For those of you who are here with us live, can you kindly let me know that we have a good connection just by saying something in our chat? If you can go ahead and let me know that you can hear me, you can see me and the presentation, you can typically just go ahead, say hi, you can say hello, yes, I can hear you, or maybe even let me know how your day was today. I had a good day. I had a good Tuesday for sure, and I hope you did as well. Awesome. I see that we have a bunch of people with us here today. Awesome to see you all. Hello. I see that we have some familiar names, as I have met some of you in the past through lessons on the platform or past webinars. So for those of you who have already seen me, it's great to see you again. But I also see some names that I have not seen yet. So I would like to take a few seconds just to greet those of you who don't know me. I mean, my name is Charles. I am one of the Tutlo tutors here on the platform. But beyond that, I am one of the webinar hosts as well for the past few years. A few fun facts to help to get to know me better. I love traveling. I actually did some traveling this weekend. But beyond that, I love reading, I love playing sports, and I love music. So if you like any of those three, I'm sure we'll get along. Great. All right. So hello, I see we have some people just joining us. If you can kindly let me know our connection is good, just by saying something in the chat, that will help a lot. If, we have any connection problems during our webinar today, just let me know as well, okay? If maybe my voice isn't clear at some point or my video disconnects, you can just let me know, and of course, I will try to fix it. All right, so we still have maybe a minute or two before we get into anything else. And during this time, I am just going to explain sort of what we are doing today. That way you know sort of what to expect and what we will accomplish. Feel free to grab a snack, a drink, or a notebook as I just sort of break down what we will do today. Obviously, based off our title of sightseeing, we're going to see some sights. We're going to start off today's webinar by just sort of exploring some of the most popular places people will go to see some things that they probably have never been able to see in the past. Beyond that, I would also like to go ahead and let everyone know that there will be some time where, of course, maybe you get to let me know what are some of the sites that you've seen that you really enjoy. Along with seeing some sites, we're going to spend some time today with some vocabulary and some phrases. So we're going to spend a lot of time, of course, learning vocabulary terms related to sightseeing and to traveling. And beyond that, we'll also go for some tips for sightseeing. How can I make the best of my sightseeing and when I'm traveling to a different country and things like that? Piotr, I see that you said there's a slight noise in the background. Can anyone else hear that? If there is, it might be just my electric fan. It's a little hot today, so I have it running. So I apologize. If it's too loud, I can turn it off. Just let me know. But I hope it's not that bad. But yeah, I apologize if there's any noise in the background. I'll try to fix it. But if there is a noise, it's just my electric fan running. All right, so I hope this clearly explains what we're doing today. And before we start, just a couple reminders. Number one, we're going to be here for 30 minutes. If this is your first time joining us for a webinar, We do them for around a half hour, which is, like I said, 30 minutes. We're going to finish around 7:30 as we began at around 7 p.m. And I encourage you to use our chat during our webinar, make comments about what we learned, ask questions during our Q&A, and participate in activities that we will have today. All right, everything has been explained. It seems that our connection is good so far. Let's dive into our topic of sightseeing by just explaining what sightseeing is. Now, to explain it, sightseeing is just the activity of seeing certain places while traveling. So if I am going ahead and having some sightseeing, I am just going to certain places to see sort of what that place has to offer, or sort of what is unique about the place that I am going to. For example, if you go to a new city or a new town, you might go see some famous buildings or some famous locations that a lot of people know about, right? And this is one of the best things about traveling, is that we get to see places and things that we normally wouldn't get to see, right? Like, for example, if I go and travel to Poland, I'm sure you will tell me that there are certain places I have to visit and see while I'm traveling there. And if you come visit the Philippines, I can tell you of some very famous sites to go ahead and visit during your stay, your travel. And that is why a lot of us travel, is to see things we have never seen before. But beyond that, with sightseeing, we also refer to it as seeing the sights. It's viewing those noteworthy and famous places if we're going ahead and traveling. So if you call it sightseeing or seeing the sights, both of those are okay. Obviously, I'm not going to be picky at all when it comes to that. But if you go ahead and you say sightseeing or seeing the sights, it's fine. Just remember how you use it. For example, you can say, I enjoy sightseeing, or I enjoy seeing the sights, or you can say, I am sightseeing, I am seeing the sights. They're interchangeable a lot, and they mean the same thing. So you can go sightseeing and seeing the sights. So let's go ahead now and let's talk about it. What are some of those famous places that a lot of people really enjoy going to, and maybe even some things that you haven't seen before, or maybe you have? The first place that we'll go ahead, we'll talk about probably one of my must-see places in my life. I want to go see the Eiffel Tower in France. I'm sure this is on a lot of people's bucket list. If you're in Europe or not, I'm sure that a lot of people go ahead and visit the Eiffel Tower. Now, with that being said, as we do this little part of our webinar, if you have been to these places, type it in the chat. I've been there. That was fun. Maybe if it's on your bucket list, go ahead and say, I want to go there. But for me, the Eiffel Tower is near the top of my bucket list of places I want to visit. Other popular places, if we go ahead across the world, across the ocean to the United States, the Statue of Liberty is also a very popular place for a lot of people to go ahead and go and see. Some popular destinations, right? The USA, go see the Statue of Liberty. Or, for example, we can travel back to Europe and go to the Acropolis in Greece. Now, this probably near the top of mine as well, because I love going to Greek mythology. So I think seeing the Acropolis would be very, very fun. And like Gut said, I have been to France, but not to Paris. So maybe the Eiffel Tower is on your bucket list one day. But yeah, so we've traveled to a couple places in Europe. We've been to France so far, in Greece, and we went across the ocean to the United States. But let's go ahead and now travel to a place in Asia, and we'll talk about the Taj Mahal in India. I'm sure this is on a lot of people's bucket list because it's a very, very beautiful place, right? Look at it, that big, big location. It looks beautiful. I'm sure if India was on your bucket list, this would definitely be somewhere to go while you stay there. And we're now in Asia. Let's travel to the Middle East and talk about Petra and Jordan and look at this place. I am sure that this would be a very, very awesome place to visit and see. It's such a beautiful architecture right into the side of a mountain. And I'm sure that, hey, if you were spending some time in the Middle East, this would be a place to go to. So we've traveled a little bit all over. Now let's transition to the UK, back to Europe, and talk about Stonehenge in England. I'm sure that if you've gone to the UK or you want to go to the UK, Stonehenge is definitely one of the most popular places that people want to go ahead and visit just to see what it's like. It's something that probably is not going to be like anywhere else in the world. I'm sure Stonehenge is one of those very rare and unique locations that would be really fun to visit. And for our last place, we're going to go back over the water, but north of the United States, and we're going to talk about Niagara Falls in Canada. I've been here. It's awesome. It's super beautiful. Niagara Falls, it's on the border between the US and Canada sides, but Niagara Falls, it's a very, very beautiful place to go. And I know that was just a little bit of fun the past few minutes talking about some popular destinations and places people want to visit. But feel free to let me know in the chat, what is your dream destination? If you think about it, if you had all the money in the world and you could go to one place, where would you go? Me personally, I probably would go to Greece. I think Greece would be a bit of my dream destination. So let me know in the chat, what do you think? Where would be that one place that if you could go for free and no money is being concerned, where would you dream of going? I think I would choose Greece or France would be my dream destination. So hopefully one day. Hopefully one day. All right, so now let's get to some learning. So we've done a little bit of fun talking about some sightseeing places. Now let's learn just some vocabulary related to this topic. So obviously, when you're going sightseeing, you're going to be what we call a tourist. If you're a tourist, you are a person that's traveling to a place for pleasure and not business. And again, when you're going to your dream destination, you would like to be a tourist there, right? Like, for example, we have someone in the chat that says they want to see Niagara Falls. You'd be a tourist going to Niagara Falls. Or like what someone said in the chat as well, that they would like to go to Nepal to see the highest mountains of the world. That would be awesome. Those are all very cool places to go, right? And I'm sure the rest of you have many, many different places that you would like to visit. And no matter where it is in the countries of the world, you're going to be what we call a tourist, because you're not from there. You're just traveling for pleasure. And whenever you're going to a new place, a good thing to do is always to find some tourist information. A tourist information is typically a building that provides visitors with locations around the area. For example, if I go to Paris, there's going to be a Paris tourist information booth that will show me of the different places I can visit in Paris. Or with what someone else said in the chat, they would like to visit the Grand Canyon National Park. There's going to be the tourist information there also that will show you the different places in the park you can visit, what are some maybe activities that you can do while you're there. Same thing with Nepal, Niagara Falls, and so many other places. So make sure to always visit the tourist information, as it definitely will help you to go ahead and learn a little bit more about where you are. And at the tourist information, you could go ahead and get a guide. A guide is simply a person who advises or takes you on your trip. For example, if, like what someone said in the chat, going to Grand Canyon National Park, or Nepal, you might need a guide, a person who knows the place and the person who can go ahead and sort of make sure you're safe, especially in those extreme travels. Like, for example, going to the Amazon or climbing a mountain or jumping out of a helicopter or an airplane, whatever it is, get a guide, a person who helps advise and treat you to the places to go and not to go. And along with that, whenever you're traveling, especially for sightseeing, you go to the attractions. The attractions are simply the places that draw visitors. And like what we said earlier, all those different examples. For example, the Eiffel Tower is a big attraction. The Statue of Liberty, the Taj Mahal, Stonehenge, Niagara Falls. And I'm sure your city and your country has attractions that bring people that want to have experiences to see what's there, whether it's a building, an old castle, a statue, whatever it is. Attractions can be broken down into many things. At the end of the day, most attractions will probably be what we call landmarks. A landmark is an object or feature that is easily seen from a distance. For example, if you think of the Taj Mahal, remember that big palace we looked at earlier is an example of a landmark, right? You look at it, it's easily recognizable. Or the Eiffel Tower is a huge landmark. The Statue of Liberty is also going to be a landmark. It's an object or feature that is easily seen from a distance. But a few other attractions that are not buildings could be things like statues, which is a carved figure of a person. So we look at the Statue of Liberty, that's a statue. It's a carved figure of someone, right? The Lady Liberty, as they call her. But you could also run into sculptures, which is a lifelike carving into stone or wood. Now, the difference with a statue and a sculpture is that statues are just pretty much large sculptures of a person or a animal, while sculptures would probably be a little bit smaller, but there are also some very famous sculpture attractions if you find them. So this was just all important vocabulary to know, right? When you travel, you're a tourist and you find the tourist information. You seek a guide, someone who can help you, especially if you're, doing some extreme activities. But whenever you're sightseeing, you go to the attractions, the things that bring visitors, like landmarks, statues, and sculptures. But how can I make the best of my trip? What are some things to make sure to do to get the best out of my travel? Well, if you're going sightseeing or if you're traveling, the best thing you could do for yourself is, number one, just do some research. Know where you're going. The tourist information is a great resource, but we have the internet today too. So if you're going to Paris, maybe Google what would be some top attractions in Paris. What are some restaurants in Paris I should eat at? Where are some locations or attractions I should go to? Same thing. For example, if someone like Piotr is going to Nepal, he would probably do some research, right? What are some things to know about Nepal? What are some things that I should remember while I'm there? And as you're traveling and sightseeing, always do your best to bring up some documents, right? Get a copy of your passport, photocopy of your driver's license, because if you lose it, you still need to have some ID, right? For example, if you're traveling, I believe, in the EU while you're in Europe, you might not need as many documents, but if you're going to a different country and a different continent, maybe do your best to bring up some documents. And another tip, just for fun, leave behind a few high-valued items, especially if you're doing extreme adventures. You don't want to lose anything, or you don't want anything too valuable to get stolen, right? So just make sure you pick and choose sort of what's important for you to have and what's not as important for you to bring, okay? Those are just some few fun things to keep in memory. Leave behind your high-valued items, bring some documents in case you lose them, and of course, just do some research. Now, we just had a little bit of fun talking about some tips for traveling. Let's get back to practicing. What we'll do now is I'll need some participation from you guys. So what we're going to do is on your screen, there will be an incomplete sentence. What I want from you is to complete the sentence with the correct vocabulary term that we have learned today. So here, up on your screen, is sentence number 1. It says, there are a lot of blank in our town because it is a popular destination. And we have two options. We have A, tourists, and B, tourism. So choose in the chat, let me know, what do you think the correct answer should be for this sentence? Should we say letter A, there are a lot of tourists in our town because it is very popular? Or should we say letter B, there are a lot of tourism in our town because it is a popular destination? So these are both words building off the word tourist, right? Remember, a tourist is a person traveling. But should we say tourist or tourism in this situation? Let's see if you guys can know. I see your answers in the chat. Seems like everyone's got it. It would be tourists. There are a lot of tourists in our town because it is a popular destination. Remember, tourists are the people that are traveling. Tourism is a thing. You can say our town has a lot of tourism, but this sentence is correct if we say there are a lot of tourists in our town. Great job, everyone. Let's go ahead. Let us try number 2. We have just one more that we'll practice. The blank information helps give people knowledge about a city. Should we say the guide information helps give people knowledge about a city, or the tourist information helps give people knowledge about a city? Let me know from what we've learned today. Is it the guide information or the tourist information? All right, answers, I see them. Awesome job. We would go ahead and say tourist information. Because remember, tourist information is the place that helps people know about the city. If we say a guide, we would say the guide helps give people knowledge about the city. We wouldn't say guide information. It would be tourist information, and that is a place. If we say the guide, that's different. But because we have the word information, we would say the tourist information. All right? So thank you guys for participating. It's also great to help practice. And we still have a couple minutes left, but let me just give you all 3 quick reminders of what we've learned today to keep your memory and to jog some memory of some things that maybe slipped your mind before we finish. Just remember the things we do when traveling, and that would be, for example, sightseeing, right? Sightseeing and experiencing new things. And we talked about some popular places, like places in the United States and Canada, spaces in Europe and Asia, and there's so many more different popular places. So I encourage you, maybe find 5 of your dream destinations and talk about it. Why would you want to go there? And maybe even use some vocabulary that you learned today. And of course, we learned a lot of vocabulary and some tips for traveling. So I encourage you, maybe even go ahead and do a lesson with your tutor about sightseeing and traveling. That way you're able to practice what we've done today. All right, so for our last section, we currently just have a Q&A, as we only have a few minutes left together. I know our time has flown by, but I want to make sure that if you have any questions, just feel free to ask it. So if there was something we learned today that maybe you want me to explain a little more, go ahead, ask it in the chat. Or maybe you just have a question in general that you would like to ask. Feel free to ask that as well. And of course, I will do my best to answer that question for you. If you don't have any questions, could you kindly just fill out a poll for me that is currently up on your screen? It just asks if you found today's webinar useful. I would love to hear from you if you thought that this was a useful topic, if you learned something, if you benefited from it. At the end of the day, I want to, of course, make sure everyone is learning and, of course, having a good time. So if we did that today, mission accomplished. We still have time for questions if anyone has them, but I just have one last poll to run by everyone, and it's just asking if you would like to join us again for another webinar in the future. if you are interested, we do our webinars from Monday to Friday in the afternoon and the evening times, where if you find a topic like today, traveling, or we do things like business English, everyday English, and even grammar. So I encourage you, find a topic that you think would be fun, and hopefully we get to see each other again there. And if not, I know the rest of our hosts would love to have you there. I don't see any questions, so we can go ahead and finish for today. But before we finish, I would just like to remind you that we actually are on social media. We have a Facebook, a LinkedIn, and a YouTube channel where we post content to obviously keep everyone up to date about anything happening at Tutlo. But we even post things like some fun facts and some learning videos. So I encourage you to check us out on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. That's going to be all from me today. A thank you to all of you as well. I hope you enjoyed today's webinar as much or even more than I did. I encourage you, keep on practicing, practice even what we learned today, and I hope to see you again soon. Maybe we will get to see each other in a lesson on the platform or through another webinar in the future. Until then, best wishes to you all. Stay safe, and goodbye for now.